Welcome one, welcome all to the Young Dad Podcast. Wherever you are, however you are listening, thank you. I'm your host, Jay, and not with me today is my lovely co-host, Aaron. His spidey senses are always tingling when dinner is almost ready, but he is not with us today. It's Friday, February 3rd, 2023. I can't believe we're already done with January and we're almost to Valentine's Day. Joining me today on the show is a man who has never stopped dreaming and wanted to be an astronaut when he grew up, Michael. Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, hey Jay. I appreciate you having me on. First of all, of course, and it's Groundhog Day. You mentioned February, so 6 more weeks of winter here in Pittsburgh. And Puxatawny's not too far away, but I haven't gotten to go to see the little well, as some people here call him the little rat, but I love Puxatawny Phil. So I am just to give the audience a little bit of background. I guess primarily a writer. I mean, I grew up, like you said, wanting to be an astronaut, and I realized very quickly that I didn't even like to fly in a plane. So I figure
Makes sense.
going up in the shuttle at the time, the space shuttle, probably wasn't going to happen. Um, so I went in other directions. I found some other creative outlets for me. Being a writer, editor, and designer. I grew up in Florida, so that was part of, I guess, my dream to become an astronaut. I was only a couple hours from the Cape. Actually went to Cape Canaveral 2 weeks before the first space shuttle launch. So 1981, I saw Columbia on the pad, getting ready to blast off for the first launch ever of the space shuttle. And ironically, and maybe we'll get more into this, and sadly, actually was working for NASA when Columbia broke up over Texas. And actually, yesterday was the 20th anniversary of that, February 1st, 2003, that happened. So that's a little bit about me.
All right. Thank you for introducing yourself to the people here. Today on the show, in usual guest fashion, we have a two-way debate. Michael's going to take us on his dad journey, and we're going to end after his telling us a little bit about his journey. So go ahead and pull up a chair, grab a snack, grab a juice box, and let's talk. The new year brings new opportunities to better yourself, to create that healthy diet you want to create, but yet some diets they just seem so bland, they're boring, and they're not exciting. Well, what if I told you there was a seasoning, low sodium, zero MSG, no crap, no garbage, only all natural ingredients that is delicious and packed full of flavors that comes in four different options. Yes, I'm telling you about Dano's Seasoning. Head over to danoseasoning.com or available at your local Kroger in the original and spicy. You can find the everything bagel and the hot chipotle on the website as well. Head over to danoseasoning.com. When you got all the goodies in your basket, use the code BALLBOY at checkout to save yourself some money and to add some delicious flavor to everything you cook this year to help take your diet to the next level. Big thank you to our live in studio audience. You guys are fantastic. We appreciate you. We're going to jump into our two-way debate. We have three questions plus a surprise fourth for Michael that I'm not sure if he knows about or not, but it's a rite of passage question when we get there. The first question today is which is a better dessert, cake or ice cream?
Cake. Do I need to,
I'm going to go
do
ice
I,
cream.
do I need to explain that?
I mean, if you would, because I don't know. I feel ice cream's a little bit superior here.
I mean, I love ice cream. It doesn't, I'm a little lactose intolerant, so I kind of stay away from ice cream a little bit. But also, it melts. So if you don't get to it right away, I figure cake, lasts longer. And when I was a kid, chocolate cake that was just my thing. So I'm kind of going back to that kid phase. But
That
I do
makes
love ice
sense.
cream. So these are always, these are hard questions. But I'm gonna go with cake for now.
But if you leave cake out too long, it does get hard. It does start to get hard from all the air.
Well, that's why I eat it right away.
That's fair. That's the
That's
best way
why
to
you
eat it.
eat it first
A good
before
cheesecake.
before dinner or whatever meal you're having. You eat the cake first. That's the thing to do.
Very true. Very true. I like a good cheesecake, but I'm gonna go with ice cream. There's just so many options, and I like ice cream. Ice cream's just what I'd much rather go with. Um, I wouldn't say it's better, but I would say it's more of a preference thing. I've never really liked cake. I always asked for birthdays for like ice cream cakes or cheesecakes or something like that growing up. So
Yeah. How do you feel
it's
about
just kind of that's how I still
how do you
am.
feel about the cookie cake?
Cookie cakes are delicious
Well, there you go.
because they're just a cookie.
Exactly.
It's a
The
big
big old
cookie.
chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah, I'll take it 100%. Next one here. Would you rather be really big or really small?
Um, I would say really big. I would say really big. And when I say that, I would say tall. I mean, I'm 5'11", but I would just like maybe 6'3" would be nice. Or if you're talking into the sky big, that would probably help getting around. You know.
That's true. That's true. I would go really small because I just feel like I'm not trying to be opposite on you on purpose, but I'm like thinking about it,
No, this is
and
great.
if I was really, if I would be really big, I feel like I would just get in the way a lot. Like I'd be trying to move and make myself small. Like I'm already 6 feet tall, so like I'm already trying to like squeeze sometimes or make myself small or something like that, and it doesn't really work. And so if I'm any bigger, I'm either A in the NBA or B I'm a freak. But if I'm really small, then no one really sees me, and they're just kind of baffled at how did that just happen? Where did this awesome worksheet just come from, or something like that? And I'm just really confused.
It could be, yeah. I mean,
So I'd much rather be like really
what do you feel
small.
like Ant-Man? You're going for Ant-Man.
Definitely, I would love to be Ant Man.
Okay.
That would be fun. All right, the last one here, well, second to last one, and this is just kind of a statement question: is flying is the best superpower?
Um, I'm gonna go no. I yeah, I almost said yes. I'm gonna go no though. I'm gonna go no just because I mean getting around obviously would be fantastic. I'm gonna go no just because I think actually to your point, being invisible, to be smaller so to be invisible was might be the best superpower.
So I'm going to agree with you on this one
You can't do
for 1 for 3 here. But my best superpower in my mind is Doctor Strange and how he has like control over like time and space
that. True, yeah.
and how you can like basically time travel and like go from one place to another in an instant, like open portals and stuff. Like to me, that's like the best superpower. I don't know why. I've always thought Doctor Strange. That's the best superpower because you can do anything. You can always go back in time if you messed up or if you failed a test. You can see what you got wrong, go back, pass it the second time. Like you can definitely use it to benefit yourself. Maybe not legally, but you could win a lot of lotteries.
Yeah, you could do the Back to the Future, the sports almanac, you know, uh,
Exactly.
situation. But no, I like that, especially because I work for NASA, so I do like physics, and then maybe in a couple 100 years or whatever, maybe that won't be a superpower. Everybody will just be able to do it.
See, I'd be down for that. I'd be so down for that because I'd be all over it. Quick little time travel. Um, and I would say another superpower over flying is the Flash's speed because I feel like the Flash's speed is faster than flying.
Flash of speed. What if you run into something? Do you have GPS with that?
No, but you have like split second like ability to like make a change in
Oh,
direction.
okay. I
I
got
feel like with flying, because you're on your feet, you can turn real quick and avoid whatever it is. You can see it coming. But I feel like with flying, you have to take like wider turns and slow down a little bit to get around a corner or whatnot. You're not as agile as you are on your feet.
you. Yeah, I mean, Superman, he does it pretty well, but yeah, definitely. If you said I had to fly like a jet, then that would be tougher,
Yeah, no, I couldn't do
and a lot
that. So yeah, I'm
slower.
gonna a lot slower. I feel like flying's just slower. Like yeah, in theory it sounds great, but in reality, there's much better superpowers out
Yeah,
there.
600 miles an hour. That's forget about it.
Yeah, but if I could run that fast or faster, then that'd be even better.
Well, that
And
would
I'm
help.
like super fit.
That would help. I mean, that would help with me picking up my daughter and taking her to dance and things like that. Although I don't know how. I guess I could carry her. If I'm that fast, maybe I'm a little stronger too. I don't know.
I think you would be. I think you would have to be for your body to like withstand it.
Yeah, because yeah, the knees. You have to be, at least the knees.
Yeah, I feel like that one kind of cuts out after a while, but unless it like keeps up with like your aging and whatnot, then I don't know. It should work out. It should work out.
No, I'm 52
All
now,
right.
so I know about the knees.
Yeah. No, I'm 28 and I'm feeling it. It's quick onset over here. All right, your last question here, and this is a rite of passage question. Since our last guest, Eric the Peanut
Hmm.
Guy, a couple weeks ago, the current score for this question sits at 4-2 to 1. So 4 yes, 2 no. Wait, no, 4 no, 2 yes, 1 tie. The question is, does pineapple belong on pizza?
No, absolutely not. I am my father's side of the family. We're all Italian, so it's a travesty. I have never tried it. It might taste good, but it doesn't belong there. Um, so yeah, absolutely not. Big no from me.
I like it. All right, so that's gonna make the score for all of you guys keeping track at home 5-2 to 1. So the current only two in that category are Aaron and Eric's wife, Carissa. And then the current tie for the question is Eric because he didn't want to start something there. So,
I understand. I get it.
yeah, so we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna be right back. And Michael's gonna take the floor for us. New year, new you, new water bottle. The coldest water bottles are fully in stock with new colors, new selections, and amazing options to hydrate you all year long. A 46-ounce wood finish tumbler is absolutely beautiful. I got one of these. I love it. My kids, I got them some of their newer colors, the 18 ounce. Since they're getting older, they're getting bigger. The 12 ounce just doesn't do them for it anymore. Now we're into the 18 ounces. We got the tie dye one. They have the brand new blue reflections as of the beginning of the year. It is absolutely phenomenal. Head over to thecoldest.com when you get all the goodies into your cart for amazing hydration or custom dog bowls, pillows, blankets, whatever it is. Use the code BALLBOY10 at checkout. That's BALLBOY 10. Use that code at checkout. Again, that's BALLBOY 10 at checkout. Save yourself 10% and support your favorite podcast. All right. Huge thank you to our live studio audience once again. All right, Michael. So we met a couple of years ago, right during COVID, actually. And I don't remember exactly how we crossed paths, but we did. But I'm glad we did. When we met, if I remember correctly, you ran Authenticity Mags, which was again it was during COVID. I remember my submitting my first couple of pieces for that website, and I was terrified. That was the first time I had ever put my writing out there into the world or anything like that. However, when we talked about baseball, we got to know each other a little bit better. I was like, this guy, he created Authenticity Mags, and he is authentic. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about you, your family, and a bit about your journey to becoming a dad.
Yeah, well, I'm glad our paths crossed as well. You're a fantastic writer. You know a hell of a lot about sports. So I obviously appreciate that, and I appreciate the applause. It's like the most applause I think I've gotten since my high school graduation. Um,
Same.
so yeah, I mean, COVID was rough. It was good too, and I'll obviously backtrack to my daughter, but I actually got to spend a lot of more time with my daughter, because she was obviously home and we were doing remote learning, and so it was nice. It was nice in that way. Um, and I have a full-time job, but I'm always, dreaming and thinking and wanting to do other things. We mentioned, wanting to be an astronaut when I was a kid, and I did work for NASA, and it's been an interesting journey. It's been really fun. For me during COVID, I was like, gosh, I've always wanted to have a magazine, and I thought, I always thought about it being in print, and then I thought, well, I could do it online now. So, started AuthenticityMags.com, a couple of years ago. Like you said, we had some tremendous contributors. Content is king, and so we were able to function for about 8 months. Not paying writers, and I hate that because as a writer, and just as a person in general, right? I mean, your time is precious, and I feel like you should be paid, for things that you do, especially as a professional, especially if you're working for um, a publication. So I was very happy that to have you on board, and so many others that helped really lift that magazine, that online publication up. At the moment, I'm trying to kind of get it back. It's not up and running at the moment. But a little bit more about me, just to back up. I started as a writer in the business. I started actually writing in third grade, and kind of teachers and my mom and others were like, you kind of have a talent at this, and I didn't really, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Once I realized I couldn't be an astronaut, because I'm and scared to even get in a plane sometimes. So I found some creative outlets, and writing was certainly the first one. Written screenplays and different plays. Actually, next month I have a play being produced here in Pittsburgh, with the Indiana players in Indiana, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour from here in Pittsburgh. And um, it's been just a great creative journey for me. I've been a graphic designer, and um, like I said, an editor. But for me, it's trying to do as many things as I feel like I love, and then just going for it, because life is so short. It's so short. And I've even gone to culinary school. I was a photographer, professional photographer for a while. So I think the thing to take away is, you said you were really fearful, and um, I get that. I mean, I'm kind of fearful every day in some way, but you but you kind of push through. This is the first podcast I've ever done, so there's actually a little bit of nerves even doing that. So even though I know you and love the show, but you push through and you realize things are not as scary, and I love that you did that, and got yourself out there. I think that's probably the key, and maybe it's the key to life in some sense. If you have kids, or maybe you can't have kids, or you don't want kids, maybe it's um, let me try and do what I really want to do, because life is short. Time is limited, very very much so. We don't have the Doctor Strange time warp yet. So
We don't. I wish we did
yeah,
sometimes, and I agree with you so much there. Like, if I would have never, our paths never crossed, I probably would have never started, Ballboy Blog, which is now turned into Ballboy Media LLC, which has turned into just so much fun and such a great creative outlet for myself and for my brother now for this podcast and the other podcasts I have and the blog itself. Like, it has turned into so much more than I could have ever imagined. But I feel that kind of what you were saying is almost along the lines is we think we're held by these chains, right? These big, heavy metal steel chains, right? And they're holding us back and we're never going to break them. But when we're ready to take that step, we look down and we realize these chains are really just rusted pieces of junk. That all I need to do is take one little tiny step with half of my leg strength, and these chains are broken, and I'm free. I'm moving forward to my direction I want to go. You know what I mean?
yeah, I love that analogy. And I when I was we talked about the astronaut, and NASA and things like that. I think if you have a dream, and this probably goes to vision boards and maybe The Secret a little bit, but I think if it's really something you want, it will happen. It may not happen right away. I applied to NASA when we really didn't have computers. I wrote a letter. I I actually looked in, like, I believe it was even a phone book. And
No
let's
way.
see, the year was, I was just out of undergrad, so it was 1992 going into 1993. And somehow I found who I thought was the director of PR for NASA. And I literally wrote a letter, or typed a letter, actually, on a typewriter, not on a computer, and, mailed that off and said, hey, I want a job, and, I'm just out of college, and I'm a communications grad, and this is what I do, et cetera, and I've always wanted to be an astronaut, blah, blah, blah. And, the letter, this is, like I said, about 1992, 93, the letter came back as undeliverable. So I was, of course, devastated, and really didn't think about the NASA dream for a long, long time. So fast forward literally 10 years, so 2002. So 1992 to 2002. I'm in a job I'm not real happy about. I'm living in Tallahassee, Florida, where I went to college. I went to Florida State, and I kind of stayed there for like 14 years, and it was home for a long time. But a lot of people were leaving. It just seemed like a good transitional time for me, and I just got on the NASA website. At that point now we have websites, right? And now we have the internet and NASA.org. And I applied for a writer-editor position. It was like February of 2002. Again, didn't think anything of it. Kind of forgot about it. 5 months later, I get a call from NASA headquarters. And I remembered it was Bridget Fenner, and from NASA headquarters, she left me a voicemail. They wanted to set up a phone interview. I had a phone interview. I think it was even the next day. It was really fast at that point. So after 5 months, it was really quick, because then they were like, we want to fly you in. And this was Washington, D.C., so I know there are a lot of
That's crazy.
facilities around the country, but I actually work for NASA headquarters in D.C., so flew me in, and I was literally at the airport. It was just a one-day trip from Tallahassee to D.C. Flew up in the morning, had my interview, flying back that night, and I'm literally in the airport getting the call and the job offer. And within, a month, I'm basically moving from Tallahassee to Washington, D.C., where I actually had always wanted to live. Honestly, I'd taken a safety patrol trip there in sixth grade, and loved it. And so, within a month, like, my life was completely different. I was working for NASA, working for my dream job, and, it's just like it happened. Even though, I thought about it as a kid, obviously it wasn't going to happen as an astronaut. Thought about it in 1992, didn't happen. Happened in 2002. So I firmly believe, point being, firmly believe that, if you really, really want it, But you have to really want it, because if you kind of on the fence, or you hem and haw about it, you're not going to get it. If you're kind of like, I think I want to do this, I may want to be a chef. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to go to culinary school or not. It's not gonna work out in your favor probably, or it's not gonna happen. So you really do have to want it. But if you do, if you have it in your heart and you want it, I firmly believe it'll happen.
True, I wouldn't 100% agree with that. If you don't want it, then you're not going to be committed to it. If there's anything that you want in life in general, um, you have to be committed to it, and you have to set your life to set up the proper steps to get you to that point, to your end goal. It's all about setting up yourself for success later. I mean, granted, like you just said, it didn't happen in 1992, but it happened in 2002 when you were least inspecting it. When you applied again online, and then it took another 5 months. You had forgot, you were living life, bright eyed, bushy tailed, and didn't think anything of it. Just kind of went with it, lived life, and just kind of went with it. And then it happened. Some of the best things in life always happen when we're least expecting it, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of attribute it, I guess, to chance, and in some ways it is, and it certainly feels that way. But if you plant the seed, um, and it's always in your, at least in the back of your mind somehow, then it will happen. I maybe moving into my life as a dad. I mean, I always wanted a little girl, and I always just wanted one child, and that's what I have. I have one beautiful little girl, and I just dropped her off at dance actually, and she has a dance competition this weekend, and that's so again, that's just another example of life kind of working out the way that you want it to. And then sometimes obviously there's those in betweens of how do I really get there, and you get off track, or you think you're off track, but maybe you're really not. It's just a way to get to the place that you really want to go. So
Most definitely. And it all just kind of happens. It all kind of comes how it's supposed to come, and when it's supposed to happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen on our timeline, but it happens on a timeline that actually ends up better for us. So,
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I
Mike,
was a first time dad, and only time dad at 40. So uh,
yeah. So that's actually what I was just about to ask you. So
yeah.
when we were talking a while back, you said that you had your daughter when you were 40, which was the same age that your dad was when you were born.
uh Yeah.
Aaron and I both had our first kids when we were we were about half that age. I was, let me see, 2017. I was 22. He would have been about 20 when his first daughter was born. Um, for you in your life, so that's a big difference. I mean, that's a lot of life lived versus not a lot of life lived. For you in your life, for you personally, what has been the benefits of having a child at 40?
Well, gosh, I mean, you certainly appreciate it more. Um, I my dad died when I was 9, and he had me late in life. I was kind of a whoops, but you know I guess I was a good and happy whoops, and but he died at 50, so 10 years later he had me at 40, and I was 9, just about to turn 10 when he passed away. So having it was an interesting parallel for me, you know, um, to have had opportunities earlier in life, been married, and all those kinds of things, but didn't work out. And so, and it's such, again, by chance, because I was living in Colorado at the time. I was single. I had a choice, actually. I had an opportunity as a writer to go get my master's degree in Flagstaff, Arizona, full ride to Northern Arizona University. Uh,
Love it. I'm actually from, that's where I lived before moving up here to Washington, was Flagstaff. So,
oh, really? I didn't know that, I don't think. Or maybe I forgot, but yeah, I love Flagstaff.
yeah,
It's
beautiful.
just gorgeous. And, it pretty pricey. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think I chose, Well, let me go back to the options. So it was Flagstaff or Roanoke, Virginia. And I had been, on the East Coast before I had moved to Colorado. Obviously, like I said, grew up in Florida and moved to Washington D.C. to work for NASA. Eventually, travels took me away from NASA and into other jobs at universities and things, and that's why I was out in Colorado. But I was trying to make a decision, go to NAU and with a full ride, or go to another low residency program where I could still work. Move back east to Roanoke, Virginia, and you know I ended up giving up the full ride to NAU and living in a dream place for me too in Flagstaff to move to a place I knew nothing about. I lived in Virginia, but it was Arlington and Alexandria, and so that's really Washington D.C., right? So Roanoke, Virginia, I didn't know at all. Um, but that's within months of moving there, got a job. Ironically, well, met my daughter's mom, or who would become my daughter's mom. We started dating, and we had Maddie within a month of us dating. She was pregnant. And the other irony here is that, and just by chance, right? The job that I got in Roanoke, she also had applied for, because we're both in communications and marketing.
Yeah.
Had she gotten the job, we never would have met. I got the job, she didn't, and of course was, I'm sure before she met me and knew me was, pissed or whatever about it, or really wanted the job. But that's actually how we met, was through a friend who, I met through that job in Roanoke, and so just this whole chain of chance events. But the beginning of it was me as a kid, even or at least in high school, wanting to have a child someday and wanting to have one and wanting to have a girl. And here I am, at 39, 40, moving back east, starting over, getting a job, and then meeting a woman who I had no clue, I would know and date for 10 years, and obviously she's still Maddie's mom and in the picture and all that. And Maddie actually my daughter, lives with her mom full time. So, and we're here in Pittsburgh and just dropped Maddie off at dance. I may have mentioned that earlier, but yeah, just a crazy turn of events to get to that point, right? Just that road. And you think you're on the wrong path, but here you are, with really what is your probably life's goal, which is to have my daughter and to live life, and do the things that I enjoy as long as I can do them.
Hmm.
And so it's just kind of going back to I guess, the origin of our conversation.
Most definitely. No, I love that. It all just kind of comes full circle. It comes full circle when you least expect it, and if it's something that you really want and it's always a desire of yours, and that's what you're constantly putting out and thinking about, then it'll happen someday. Maybe not right away when you think you want it, but it'll happen when it's supposed to, so that it's right for you in that part of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the places I've ever wanted to live in my life, I've lived. Washington, Colorado. You know, all of the jobs and things that I kind of dreamed that I would do, I've done. Aside from maybe publishing a book, having a screenplay, made into a movie, things like that, haven't happened yet. But, I've always wanted to go to Wimbledon. Now I've been twice. Finally got to go there for the first time in 2019, right before COVID, and then went there last
Nice.
summer as well. So I think these big ideas and big dreams we have, yeah, you just got to give it time. I mean, I've been playing tennis and coaching tennis and dreaming about Wimbledon, since I was like 10 years old. Um, but it took me until 2019 when I was 39 to actually get there.
No, definitely, I get that because I'm the same way, but with baseball. One thing I've always wanted to do since I was a teenager, even, is to see every Major League Baseball park and to go to a game at every single Major League Baseball park. And now having kids makes it a little bit harder, but we're starting small. We're starting with minor league baseball. We're going to go to 5 different parks this summer and see some collegiate wood bat baseball as well, and some different parts around local teams and whatnot. So we have a lot of baseball on the schedule for this summer, and it's awesome to be able to share that with my kids. And something I've always wanted to do was travel, see baseball, experience different cities, enjoy it, and it's so much fun. So
That's
it
fantastic.
all comes around how it's supposed to come around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, come to Pittsburgh. PNC Park's amazing, beautiful. Um,
It's on the list. It's on the list.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot like it reminds me of Coors Field. So if you've ever been to Denver, it's got kind of
It's on the list.
that feel and fan base where they just want to go out and watch baseball and have fun. They're unfortunately that's why they don't have great teams, or they have every 20 years maybe, because the ownership they're going to make money anyway. They know that, so
Hmm.
it gets a little tough, but it's always fun to go to a game, and they're just gorgeous stadiums. So
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So there's a couple more questions here before we wrap up here. So, what advice would you give to a new father who's in his early 20s compared to a new dad who's in his late 30s, early 40s? So, assume like the age gap when I had my first kid and when you had yours, what, kind of advice would you give that dad now versus a dad who's also, so what kind of advice would you give an early 20s dad, and what kind of advice would you give another early 40s dad?
yeah,
First time.
gosh, let me think if it would be different advice. I will definitely say, well, no matter what age, there's always a stage. So don't think that you're ever off the hook, so to speak. you know, um, you go from the not sleeping stage to the potty training stage, or if you've got the terrible twos, maybe you know, um, which is a complete misnomer. That maybe that's the advice I would give a younger dad, a younger first time dad. These things don't really happen. It's kind of like our conversation, right? I mean, there's not really the terrible twos. It could be the terrible ones. It could be the terrible threes, fours,
Yeah.
and fives. So,
Yeah.
so
Well, I call the threes, four, and the five the early teens,
yeah. I mean, my daughter from that
the
age
preteens.
was already kind of acting like a teenager.
Oh my goodness, I get it. I fully sympathize there.
We were,
We had a three-nager, then we had a four-nager, then we had a five-nager. So I still have a five-nager. So you know.
I think when you're young, don't give up, your dreams per se. Obviously, you have to, in some way, um, be there for your child, and some of your dreams may
Mhm.
fall to the side or fall away for a little while. But like I've said, eventually they will happen. Um, so it might be a little more difficult for a younger father to do the things that I did. Traveling the country, going across country in by myself, and moving around to different jobs and things like that. Obviously, couldn't have happened when I had Maddie, because it's like now, I can't just pick up and take a job in overseas or wherever it may be. I'm not going to leave my
Mhm.
daughter. I want to see her every day that I can. And
Yep,
and
definitely.
so Pittsburgh is home. Until she decides it's not. Like if she graduates high school, or if she's in dance and actually gets into, which we're hoping, gets into a dance troupe, dance company somewhere. It could be anywhere in the world, really. Um,
Mhm.
then there's that opportunity to say, okay, maybe we can go live, overseas with her or wherever she is. So don't. I think as a younger
Mhm.
dad, first time dad, certainly don't lose hope. Because you're not sleeping. You may not be
Yeah.
eating at the times you want to eat, or the things you want to
Mm-hmm.
eat. Financially, you might not have the means to do some of the travel you want to do. But like you said, right, we're going to see some minor league games where maybe I can't get to Pittsburgh this year. I can't, take a trip. I mean, I think a child is over 2 or 3, it's like a normal fare, which is crazy to me. But obviously, they have to
Mm-hmm.
succeed, and so these little logistical things. I think for a younger couple that they may not know that, it's like, okay, it's going to cost us, wait, what, $1,500 to go to Pittsburgh, and that's just the plane. So, um, so I think it's just keeping the faith that you're going to do those things if you want, and to involve obviously whether it's a girl or boy, involve them in your loves. They may not become their loves, but at least you're spending time with them. I mean, like I said, tennis. I tried to. I didn't want to do that to Maddie, like, and say, okay, you're going to play tennis because I played tennis growing up. But we tried to play tennis a little bit, and it just didn't seem like her thing. And she started dancing one day in the house, and we're like, where the heck did this come from? And so we put her in, some classes, and here she is winning awards all over the state, and we're going to nationals actually in April for a competition down in Tampa. So
That's
that's my
crazy.
advice
Yeah,
to younger.
I can definitely attest to that. Your daughter is an amazing dancer. I see the
Uh,
videos you post of
I
her.
appreciate
Been seeing them for a couple of years now, and she is simply incredible.
I appreciate it. I think as an older dad, just real quick, I don't want to be, I know I'm conscious of the time here, but I guess as an older dad, you know, it's it's some of the same, but it's also, don't never. I think what I would say is never stop learning, because as you get older, I mean, even if you don't have kids, even if you're listening to this and maybe you're about to have a child, or maybe you've lost a child, God bless you, but whatever the case may be, it's never stop learning. So as you get older, it's and taking care of a child, it's not necessarily easier, definitely, just because you're older, because you can read all the books and all that stuff, and as we mentioned, terrible twos, and not really being to the terrible twos, but I think it's just going with the flow, and you know even if you're older and in your 40s, I went back to school and got my master's degrees. I have 3 master's degrees um, in creative writing, which is fortunate and unfortunate. And I say unfortunate because of the loans, but I went back to school when Courtney was pregnant with Maddie. So my first residency in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, excuse me, um, was June of 2011. Maddie was born in July of 2011. So, and then I got those degrees when she was growing up. So, you don't have to put off certain things either. So keep learning, and keep trying, and know that, uh, certain stages are definitely exhausting, but it's worth it, and they will come to an end. But just know there's another stage coming. and but
100%.
but in the end, it's worth it to see, my daughter smile, to see her dance, to see her win a trophy. I never won a trophy as a kid for anything, not even in tennis. So, I won little certificates for being a good student or perfect attendance in like 10th grade. I think I had, or I don't even know how I did that, but but yeah, I mean, just to see her, thrive is worth it.
100%. 100%. And I couldn't agree with you more. For I feel like that second piece of advice you gave, to never stop learning and don't give up on your dreams, even for dads who are in their early 20s, late 20s, like myself, approaching 30 in the next couple of years, don't give up on learning. You know, as your kids get older, yes, like you said, those new phases come, those new stages come. You learn how to deal with them a little bit quicker, especially if you have two kids, because you kind of did it once and Now you kind of know what you're doing the second time, but for me personally, like I'm finishing my bachelor's degree here at the end of February, my first bachelor's, and it's taken since I graduated high school to get here. But hey, we got there, you know.
There you go.
And I have this podcast and a blog, something I never thought I would. I always wanted to have just an outlet for myself and whatnot. And I don't get to spend a ton of time on it like I would want to, or as I will be able to once I'm done with school. But you know, it's still there. It's an outlet for me. It's something that I can do that I'm proud of for myself. You know, and if it turns into something more, if it grows, if it blossoms, someday, who knows? It could be something that's just amazing. So definitely agree with you there. Don't stop learning and don't give up on your dreams. They might have to take a small back burner, but you know, find the things for you that make you happy as a dad and that you can do for yourself to keep yourself sane, to keep yourself grounded, and to keep yourself going.
Yeah, and
All right, just
congratulations on the bachelor's degree too. And
no, thank you.
yeah, I mean, all of it really. I mean, you know.
Thank you. All right, two more questions here. Then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
What has been the hardest thing about transitioning to fatherhood for you, and what was the easiest?
Gosh, I guess the hardest, yeah, just knowing that I'm responsible for this life. So the fear, I guess, that comes with that is is hard. It's also a joy, but it's um, I think as a dad, and I don't want to stereotype it, but for me personally as a dad, um, out of sight, out of mind. So, you see all these school shootings, right? But it's not, and we've had a couple lockdowns here and there over the years, but you know, it's not something that I think about every day. You can't. I mean, you go crazy, right? Um, so that's probably the hardest thing, having to send her off into the world, but then, from my own personal space, I'm able to let go a lot easier. And so, um, it's still hard, but it is easier for me to know, like, she's a dance right now. Like, okay, she's fine, she's good. Um,
Hmm.
and let's see, what would be the easiest?
What was the easiest thing
Um,
for you?
I would say, you know, just loving her,
Did I
has
lose you?
been the easiest thing. Um, just giving her what she needs, knowing that what I
I
have
think we
to
may have
do
lost a
at
connection
this
there,
point
folks.
in her life
We'll
and
be
my
right
life
back.
to
We'll
keep
finish
her
our last
dancing.
two questions, and we'll be.
'Cause
Oh, there you are. Go ahead and start that part over for me again. We lost you just real quick there.
okay, yeah, I think the positive, or the easiest thing is just loving her, uh, you know, and just being there for her as a dad. As I mentioned, maybe earlier, she lives with her mom now, but still being there physically, obviously financially, she's knowing what I have to do and what she needs at this age with her dancing, and what I have to do just to keep her dancing because it's expensive. um,
Yeah,
uh,
hobbies and extracurriculars are
yeah, around
spendy.
here, yeah, ice hockey is huge, and that's expensive, I know. And I'll just say, I won't give a number, but I'll say this: it's her annual dancing is basically a college tuition. It is four times what I paid in tuition at Florida State back in the late '80s and early '90s. So,
That's wild.
um,
So if you guys want to do some math at home, go ahead and look up Florida State tuition 88 to 92
yeah, if you want it, well,
and multiply that by 4, and we'll just leave it at that.
if you want to be depressed about tuition, I think back then it was about, to answer, to actually put a number behind that, I want to say it was $40 a credit. I want to say it was $120 a class back then for undergraduate at FSU. So
Okay.
you can do the math on that and be depressed about your
Yeah.
bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I'm very depressed about it already. Don't worry. I was looking up how much I owe in loans the other day, and I was
uh,
not not happy.
no, I mean, I've just kind of, resigned to the fact that, I'll be paying them the rest of my life, or
Yep,
yeah, basically.
yep, 100%. All right, last question here, and then we'll wrap up. What advice do you have for girl dads?
Oh, girl dad, yeah. It's tough because I always wanted a girl. And I think I relate to women a little bit better. I've always had more female friends and guy friends, I guess. I grew up, because my dad died so young, I grew up primarily women. My little sister, I think I mentioned earlier, I have a half sister in California. I have three half brothers, one here in Pittsburgh and two in Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, I had my nana and my mom, and so I was around women quite a bit. But my advice would be, um, just be a good role model. Just be good to their mom and obviously other women. Taking interest in what they're doing. Like dance. I didn't like, I didn't go to the ballet before I had Maddie. I didn't go to the Nutcracker every year like we do now. Which is a tradition now,
Hmm.
a beautiful tradition for us. And so I think it's just, every dad, every girl dad will have their own um, way of working through it. If especially if they're dreaming of a boy and sports and all those things that come with it. I mean, girls play sports. Girls dance.
Yes, they do.
Girls dance. I mean, so a lot of girls and women play sports better, quite honestly. So I think that it's just really about being a good role model. They're going to learn from you. Give them the attention, give them the affection that they need, because if you don't, someone else will, or someone
Hmm.
else will try. And so, who you are is probably who they're going to date, at least at first. And so, um, yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but just don't be an asshole. And
100%.
I mean, it's. I mean, obviously, I don't have a boy, so I can't say whether it's different or the same. But it's easy for me because I wanted a girl, and I just kind of instinctively knew how to take care of a girl. I don't know. I mean, obviously, there are things her mom's gonna work with her on. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, just don't be an asshole. Be a good guy. Be a good dad.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, that is all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you for tuning in today. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a true pleasure,
Hey, thank you, Jay.
and more than happy to have you. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We look forward to our next episode next week with you guys, back on our regular schedule. And yeah, we love you, and we can't wait to be with you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Are you toward the end of this podcast and you're just wondering, man, I really want to support these guys. These guys are great. I just want to support them. How can I support them? The show is 100% free. We hope to always keep it 100% free. We try to give you guys great products and brands that we work with. One of the best ways that you can support this podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube at Young Dad Pod. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Young Dad Pod. Facebook, Ballboy Media. Subscribe to the website, ballboymedia.com. Those are some of the best ways to support us. If you need any of those links to get to any of those places, the link tree is always in the show notes on every platform for you to quickly click over and to find us wherever you get your podcasts and wherever you get your social medias. Follow us there, support us there, share it with a friend. Those are the best ways that you can support us. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the show.